to the world. Subscribe now to the Hot 97 YouTube channel. It's Ebro in the Morning with Laura Stiles and Rosenberg.
You got Ebro, that's me. You got Rosenberg. Laura Stiles is on maternity leave, and we are together with Alvin Bragg today, running for Manhattan District Attorney to try to remove Cy Vance, I think, whose Cy's been sitting on the gig for a couple of decades. Right, Alvin?
He's a decade. He's going on 12 years at the end of his term. So
12. So I have my issues with Cy Vance, and there's things that I believe he hasn't done well. But one of the things leading into this vote for the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, I know a lot of people are wondering, whoever has this job, are they going to convict Donald Trump?
Look, that is the number one issue. We know he's investigating. And what I'll say is I was the first to announce against Cy Vance. I, too, have a lot of issues, which is why I decided to run. I'm the candidate in the race who has the experience with Donald Trump. I was the chief deputy in the Attorney General's office. We sued the Trump administration over 100 times for the Muslim travel ban, for family separation at the border, for shenanigans with the census. So I know how to litigate with him. I also led the team that did the Trump Foundation case. So I'm ready to go wherever the facts take me and to inherit that case. And I think, it'd be hard to argue with the fact that that'd be the most important, most high profile case. And I've seen him up front and seen the lawlessness that he can do.
And you believe it should happen?
I believe we have to hold him accountable. I haven't seen all the facts beyond the public, but I've litigated with him, and so I'm prepared to go where the facts take me once I see them and hold him accountable.
Where do you fit in as the Manhattan District Attorney versus on the federal level the attorney for the Southern District of New York? How do you guys who does what?
Exactly. So I was in that office. I was in the public corruption unit in the Southern District of New York. So there is sometimes working together. Oftentimes the same case could be brought as a federal matter or as a state matter. I'll give you an example. I did the case that led to the conviction of Malcolm Smith, who was the Senate Majority Leader for bribery. That could have been a state case. It's just that we were basically in the Southern District. We've been in the lead. We were using our resources and focusing on people using power and abusing power. And if I were Manhattan District Attorney, I would be focusing on that in a way that office has not before.
So, Alvin, you said leading you where the facts may lead you with regard to dealing with Donald Trump. And from what you know today, and, I know you're being careful with your words because you're running for office, so I respect that. But I know as a voter and a taxpayer, all I know is some of the things that I've seen would have put me in jail. So how is it not going to put someone at his level in jail? Now, I know the answer is he's an old white man and he's got a lot of money and he was just coming out of the office of president. But that doesn't sit well with me as a citizen of the United States and a resident of, this area.
No doubt. You're right. So I'm being careful, not so much of running for office, but because every case does have to be judged on its facts, and I don't know all the facts, right? And so I've been doing this for 20 plus years, so I want to be fair. But with that said, there is a lot that's out there publicly. I look at what the Attorney General is looking at as a civil case, which could become a criminal case at the Manhattan DA's office, where on the one hand, he's saying, hey, look, this piece of land is worth $1 when I want to go pay taxes, taxes on it. But when I want to go get a loan, all of a sudden it's worth $1 million, right? That's
public, but that's public information that he did that.
And so what I'm saying, that's why I'm focusing on that. That kind of conduct right there could definitely be the basis for a case. I've done a mortgage fraud case. I've gone to trial. I've done a tax fraud case. That kind of conduct right there is deeply troubling. And that's what I'm thinking about when I say, holding him accountable. So yeah, there you are right. We got two standards of justice. Harvey Weinstein, Jeffrey Epstein, being a rich old white man has allowed you to evade accountability in Manhattan. That includes Trump and his children. They were engaged in fraud in a Soho real estate deal, his children. So you're right. We got two standards of justice. I grew up in the second standard in Harlem. I know all about it. And you're right. I'm being a little careful because I don't want to prejudge. And then I get in the office, and the first motion I get from the Trump team is I got to recuse myself because I prejudged the facts. But you're right. There's a lot out there in the public domain that is so troubling. And I say that not just as someone who's watching it, but as someone who's done these kind of cases, someone who's litigated with Donald Trump about fraud. And by the way, and won, right? We held him accountable in the Trump Foundation case. My office did the Trump University case. So I've seen a pattern of lawlessness over 20 years. And so I'm inclined to believe all I see in the public domain and know that and believe that there's a path forward there to make a case.
Can you tell us, Alvin, a little bit about how you got here? Just a brief bio of how Alvin Bragg ended up being the guy who thinks he should be the DA of Manhattan.
Sure, no doubt. So yeah, I'm a guy from Harlem. I grew up in. I'm 47, so I grew up in Harlem in the '80s, and basically experienced everything that the criminal justice system has to offer. Was stopped illegally multiple times by the NYPD, 3 times at gunpoint. Also had a gun pointed at me 3 times by people who weren't police. Had a knife put to my neck, a homicide victim on my doorstep. All those early experiences. That's why I went to law school. And the past 20 plus years, I've been fighting for both public safety and civil rights in the courtroom. Prosecuting law enforcement, doing cases that really deal with actual, real public safety and not some of the junk that we see coming out of the DA's office. So that's who I am. I'm a kid from Harlem. Grew up. Fighting the system after my first stop, pushing back and complaining to the city. And I've never stopped since then. I've been doing it, was a federal prosecutor, was a civil rights lawyer, and was the chief deputy attorney general of New York State. Worked on, stop and frisk, fighting about stop and frisk, representing Eric Garner's family now in a case against de Blasio and the city, trying to get transparency. So I'm the candidate who lived both public safety and civil rights issue and fought for them, and I'm fighting for them now.
Does the Manhattan District Attorney hold any jurisdiction over holding police officers accountable for their behavior?
Definitely. And they have not been strong on that issue.
And so that was the first part of my question. The second part is do you believe currently that office, the Manhattan DA's office, gets pressure to not hold NYPD officers accountable for their behavior?
I think that they're not independent in a way that they should be for the NYPD. I think there's no question about that. We need a truly independent district attorney. And when I was at the Attorney General's office, I ran that work statewide. We prosecuted a district attorney for misconduct in a case involving a killing of an unarmed black man.
And so do you believe that, because I've heard from politicians, I've had someone who would admit it, but do police officers, NYPD union, former police officers, do they put pressure on electeds to look the other way?
So look, the NYPD, union, the main unions, Pat Lynch, they're putting pressure left and right. I think we've entered a new day, particularly in Manhattan, with a number of the electeds now saying they're not going to take, police union money and really speaking out. But there's no doubt that they're trying to exert pressure wherever they can.
Is this systemic, or is this something that's been Cy Vance's office? And in other words, how will you be able to operate more independently than Cy Vance has?
So this is systemic, but I do think leadership matters a lot. And I've done this, right? So I did this statewide. We had an independent unit, and what we did differently from all other offices, we put information out there. If there wasn't a charge, we did a complete report showing all of our findings and all of our legal conclusions. No one else in the country does that. And advocates and organizers, appreciated that transparency. And also we brought cases. We prosecuted a sitting district attorney, and we prosecuted a police officer. Now, cases didn't go the way we wanted to ultimately, but we brought challenging cases that other prosecutors ran away from.
Right now we just saw what I'm calling a white domestic terrorist temper tantrum at the Capitol just last Wednesday. And in the crowd and the participants were firemen, police, former military, some active military, lawyers, doctors. It wasn't just redneck QAnon kooks, and you know what I mean? It was
I know
people
exactly
from all
what you mean.
walks of life. And I've maintained that white supremacy in not only with judges, police officers, firemen, the institutions, it's riddled with these people who do not want to see black people, marginalized people, carry their voting power or any social influence at all, and work systematically to make sure that it doesn't happen. Do you believe that our institutions here in New York City have a reckoning coming in dealing with white supremacy?
Well, they should, and that's why, again, leadership matters. We need leadership that's going to bring about that reckoning. Obviously, we saw the movement this summer, and the people are ready to deliver that, but we need leaders in office who will bring about that reckoning. You're so right. People want to think about this as an issue of, voter suppression in Georgia or, somewhere else. This is happening right here in New York with people who are sworn to protect us. And we need to have that reckoning, and we need people in office to help lead that, and particularly people, in an office like the DA's office, to say, look, I'm not going to work with any of these police officers, who are engaged in anything that smells like racism. You can't work with my office. You got to go.
Why do you believe Cy Vance isn't cut out to keep to his job?
He's not. I mean, it's like every other job, right? We look at the performance. So, I think about Harvey Weinstein. I think about Jeffrey Epstein. I think about the people with, kind of all this privilege who weren't held accountable, who did real harm. They hurt people. They're not getting held accountable. And then we got people like a homeless person who goes in to buy, some food and toothpaste with a counterfeit bill. Cy Vance sent him to jail for a sentence of 4 to 8 years. You can't have that system. So yeah, time's up.
And so one of the things I saw with Cy Vance too, people asked for the cases around the exonerated 5. What was the lady's name? Linda Fairstein, I believe her name is.
Exactly.
People were asking for cases that she litigated during that time period to be reopened and examined. I believe Cy Vance did not want to do that. And that was an issue for him to kind of go backwards and look at, some of these people who held power in this city during a time period where black men were being targeted. And we know that to be a fact, and given long sentences. You have people who were locked up and evidence has been changed and they're not being let out and these sort of things. Do you believe that work needs to be done?
100%. I mean, I know this firsthand. I talked to you about being stopped at gunpoint. I'm around the age of the exonerated 5. One of my gunpoint stops, I was stopped by about 40 cops coming home from playing basketball with my boys, and they accused us of stabbing someone in Central Park. Wow. I know this playbook firsthand. I have been calling for this. I wrote something in the Amsterdam News, more than a year ago, saying we got to reopen all of these cases. I pointed out that Linda Fairstein has been supporting Cy Vance's campaigns and that they are close. I obviously don't have any relationship like that. And, and much closer in all ways, to the exonerated 5, growing up in Esplanade Gardens, where one of the exonerated 5 also grew up. I've called for a look back, and I don't understand. The only thing I've heard from Cy Vance's folks is, oh, well, that will cost a lot of money and time. I mean, people's liberty is at stake.
What's this election looking like so far? Where do you stand, and how do you think your chances are?
I think my chances are good. We've been talking to people, all around the borough, and our message, people are supporting it. There are a number of people in the field. I was the first to announce against Cy. Now it looks like he's not running, so the field has about 8 folks in it. But I'm the only one who's lived this stuff day in and day out for 20 plus years. Someone who's had an AK pointed at his head, someone who's had loved ones, incarcerated in solitary confinement, the warrant squad at my door, and then went on and had a career dedicated to this work. So that's why I'm different and stand out from the field first. And 2 other ways, this is a management job, right? This is an office of, more than 1,200. I oversaw the Attorney General's office, a progressive law enforcement office, and then also it's a job about doing cases. And I've got the most extensive record of doing the cases that we need to get done, whether it's Harvey Weinstein, whether it's Trump Foundation, whether it's impactful gun trafficking, but also unlike a number of other people in the field. I haven't done these cases that happen when you grow up at the DA's office, like that homeless person case I mentioned. The only misdemeanor I've gone to trial on was 2 men blocking the Planned Parenthood facility and not letting staff and patients in. So I've got the lived experience, the management experience, and the judgment and experience on what cases to do and not to do. And that's why I should be the next district attorney. And
do you believe you have the relationships also to get things done? New York City is a very relationship-oriented town. It's definitely a good old boy network here, and it takes know-how to get things done.
So, I have had a number of experiences that have brought relationships. I was in charge of the city council's litigation for a period, working on a lot of issues and meeting a lot of people in city government. Been a federal prosecutor, ran the state attorney general's office. I have a lot of relationships. What I have mostly is independence. People have worked with me before, but they know I have integrity and independence. So I think you got to have the relationships, but they got to know you're your own person. So we've been very proud in this race. A number of electeds that have endorsed. State Senator Robert Jackson, former Congressman Charlie Rangel. Really proud to have I don't run around off all the names and use the time, but a broad base of support. But I think the most important thing above and beyond relationships is people have seen you in the job. They know you're accessible, that you're going to govern in relationship with the community. But they know that you're independent from these powers that be. And that's who I am.
And right now, just like with a lot of elections, your work is probably name recognition, right? Getting the name out, because, when you're the incumbent, Cy Vance has that working in his favor, right? He's been plastered all over the news and papers for many years. So now, we got to help you get your name out. I like the things I've heard here for sure.
Well, I appreciate being on. As you said, part of it is name recognition. I'm known throughout maybe non-political circles. I'm a Sunday school teacher. They know me in the faith communities. I'm a little league coach. They know me in the community-based organizations. But to be able to come on here and speak with you and your listeners, you're right. This is what we need. I need this message to reach all of Manhattan, because Cy Vance is, as you said, been in office for more than a decade. The son of a former Secretary of State, and all the advantages of being an incumbent. So thank you very much for having me on.
Alvin Bragg. I like it.
We hit the double name. You see that, Alvin? Not everyone gets that.
It was like y'all coordinated it. You got to coordinate.
Got to coordinate. Thanks, Alvin. Good luck, man.
Yo, good luck, bro.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Man. Take care,
All
sir.
right, man. Peace.
All right. Peace.